Hey guys, and welcome to Bridge Design Truss Construction Part 1. And so today we're going to be using the template that we have designed in White Box Learning to construct our first truss. And so you can see here that we have our truss laid out. We've taped our template together. You can see I cut it right here. That was the first part. Now I've cut my sticks already. And the sticks that I'm using are the 3.2 millimeter balsa wood. And I'm cutting that with either a pair of regular scissors. You can use any type of scissors, or you can use a craft knife if your parent allows it. So balsa wood, really weak, snaps really easy, right? And so you got to be careful when you're designing this. Now the first thing that you're doing is you're taking your template, you're putting it on some type of surface where you can glue it to, and then I'm going to move my pieces out of the way and you're going to see how this template was filled in. Okay, and so all I did was I went piece by piece and I followed the template for the size of pieces that I need to cut. And so I'm going to move all my pieces out of the way so you can see that. I've kept them in order. Okay, starting with the top and the bottom chord, right? So I have my top chord up here, my bottom chord down here. So if you notice here on the template, it does have cut marks here. So to keep a stronger design, we're just going to use a singular piece. Okay, so we're going to be cutting our length based on the bottom chord and then cutting our length based on the top chord. Now once you have those chords in place, my suggestion would be to either pin them down if you have pins, or you can just use regular tape. And so I'm just going to be using regular tape here. And so I'm going to tape them down so that way they stay in place. And so I have my tape pre-cut. And so you can use painter's tape, or you can use this regular tape. Now my suggestion is if you have painter's tape available that you use that. Otherwise, you will be ruining this first template, and that's okay. You will have to print off another template if you use the regular tape. Okay, so I have all my pieces and taped them in. Okay, so the next part that I'm going to be doing is I'm going to start gluing all of my different truss pieces. So I'm going to start from one side and work my way over, and then I'm going to start from the other side and work my way to the middle. So I'm going to do these first 3 pieces of truss, and then I'll do these 3 pieces, and then I'll work on the middle parts. Okay, so based on that, I'm going to start with my outside edge first. Now, the bottle of glue that you are using, I would suggest not to use the nozzle. All you're going to be doing is taking your bottle, and to save on glue, you're going to dip your stick in until it's just coating the end, right? So when you look at that, it's just coating the end of your stick, okay, of your truss piece. Okay, and so you got both sides in, and now you're going to place your truss piece. Okay, so based on where we cut it, right, that's going to be the first piece that we put in. Okay, hold it for a second. Now this isn't instant glue, this isn't super glue, it's not going to glue super fast. But you hold it for a second just to get it in place. Kind of press it together because balsa wood is really easy to form. And you have your first piece down. Okay, so now we're working on our second piece. And so we're going to make sure that we have the right piece before we glue it. We want to make sure we have it at the right angle that we want. And now again, all I'm doing is just dipping it in. One side at a time. Take off all the excess glue. You don't need a lot of glue. You just need enough on the end, okay? And again there. Now, if you decide to use the nozzle, you're going to end up making a big mess. The other thing that you can do is if you have scrap cardboard, you can put a dollop of glue on the cardboard or on your paper, and you can glue it and you can dip it in that way. Okay, so now I got my second piece. I'm holding that first piece together, putting that second piece into place, and then pushing them together. And so I want to make sure it's following the template exactly as it's laid out. right? So you're going to push them all together. Hold it for a few seconds and then let it go. Okay? And so now we have our second piece done. And now we're just continuing down. So now I'm going to do this third piece, making sure that I have the right angle first before I put my glue in. And then I'm going to put my sticks on the end. Dip each side in. All right, double checking my angles before I place them. Now I'm going to put one more piece because this piece is going to be glued. All right. And so then as you're going, if you have wax paper, you could put the wax paper on top of your template so that way you don't have to print off a second template. Otherwise, when you finish with the gluing on here, some of this may be glued to the paper and you may have to print off a second template. Okay, so now this one right here is important. Make sure you pay attention to the angles that are placed to make sure that you press your pieces together where the angles are placed. So if you look right here, you can see that this piece is connected to that center truss, the vertical truss, and I'm pushing these two together here, and I'm also holding the top and bottom cord together to give that extra bit of stability, making sure that there's no spaces or gaps in between where my trusses are being connected. This is what's going to give the bridge that strength that you want when we do the testing. Okay, and so now we are halfway done. We're halfway done. So now we're going to start with the other side. Okay, starting with that outside edge first. First, like I said before, making sure that you place your sticks in there, your trusses in there to make sure you have the correct angle. And then adding your glue to the ends of your trusses. Okay. Now it's real important, guys, that as you guys are placing your trusses, you are double checking and even triple checking before you glue it, that the angles that you cut are the angles that you're placing. It's real easy to look at these pieces of wood once you cut your angles, and as they turn, you can misplace the angle, right? You can misplace which angle you want it to go. This one's pretty straightforward, so we're going to place this one right here, making sure that's going in this direction. And so remember, this bridge that we're building here, when it's fully constructed, should be able to hold the weight that your program tested to. Now it may hold a little bit less because we are not, like on the program and like I've told you before, we're not going to be laminating our bottom truss section. But what we are going to do is, instead of doing a single truss bottom section, we're going to do a more built up bottom truss area. And we'll get that to when we get to part 4 in the series. Okay, so we're there. Now we're looking at this one again. Look at that angle, right? So that angle that I cut matches the angle that is on the design. And you can see how fast this is going. If you need to slow down or pause the video at any point, do so. You don't need to go this fast. We're trying to do a truss section, a class period. And sometimes there's a little excess glue that I kind of wipe off. And I'll wipe it on the other truss areas. All right, so now here we are in this area here. You can see that we're a little bit off. So this one is going, this truss section is going to this area, and then this is my straight truss. And see, I have a little curve cut right here that curve is going to match to the curve that is on. That curve is going to match to the curve that is on the design. And again, all I'm doing is dipping my ends. I'm dipping my ends into my bottle instead of squirting the glue onto the truss. And what that's doing is, it's one, it's conserving my resources, and two, it's making it a little bit easier to glue everything together. Makes less mess. You can see that I have a blue, or you can see that I have a green colored. You at home may have blue. It's the same glue. It's the same glue. It's special glue that's made just for this type of wood. Now you could use regular wood glue for this and you'd be just fine, but this has a little bit extra strength for this type of wood that we're using. Okay, so again, going this direction, pushing this into place. This is that last piece, pushing it together, making sure that it stays. Okay. And now you should start feeling some strength. You should start feeling some strength. When you're pushing these together like this, you should start feeling some strength on your truss section. So this is part one, guys. Now I did have this stick here, and this was if we need to add more glue into one area. So I'm going to show you how I use that. So I just put a little bit of glue there, and say there was a little bit, we need a little extra glue on this area here. I'm going to kind of push it into those cracks and those crevices with this stick right here, and then I'm going to hold it together while it's gluing. Okay, and so that's why I have this extra stick. Now I've given you enough materials to do your bridge plus the bottom truss that we're going to be building. If you guys have any questions, this is part one. I hope you enjoyed the video. Have a great day.